Hi, my name is Kyle Fawcett and I'm here with Projection Hub, and I'm going to show you how to create a business plan for a proposed Airbnb or short-term rental unit. Now, what this video is not going to be is I'm not going to write an entire business plan right here in front of you. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go through and show you an outline of a typical business plan, and then I'm going to highlight 5 key areas that could really make or break the success of your business plan when it comes to, trying to land an approval of a loan request or maybe get an investor. And so you're going to want to do that. Now, if you're not trying to raise funding, I still think this video is going to be helpful for you because those 5 key points are really going to make the difference in your business plan and kind of level it up. Now, who is Projection Hub? Projection Hub has helped over 50,000 small businesses, entrepreneurs create financial projections for their business plans, loan applications, pitch decks, including actually many Airbnb and short-term rental projections. It's actually one of our most popular, I would say, or common customers in the last year or two. So we've helped a lot of them. And now, before my time with Projection Hub, I actually worked for 7 years as a small business lender, putting together loan applications for small businesses and for startups, and reviewing their business plans and reviewing their financial projections and helping them through that process. And so I don't own an Airbnb unit or a short-term rental unit. And, so my perspective isn't coming from this is exactly how to run your business, but more so, these are the things your lender or potential lender are going to want to see in your business plan. So if at any point you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of other content around Airbnbs as well that I think will be helpful to you. Now, I'm going to be using a free Airbnb business plan template. You can grab that down in the description below, no strings attached at all. So feel free to grab that, and I will go ahead and get started. Okay, so why is your business plan important? Now, might sound kind of obvious, but the purpose of this isn't to educate the potential lender or the audience on what Airbnbs are or why they're important or anything like that. I think at this point, it's a well-known enough concept that you don't need to do that. But instead, what you really need to focus on is how your specific plan is going to be successful. What is your tangible roadmap to being successful and being a good return on an investment, whether that's a loan that you're going to pay it back or an investment that you will contribute and build something of worth for a potential investor. So you'll notice here in this table of contents some of the sections we're going to go through. But one thing I want to point out is you'll notice this is only 9 pages long. Okay, now a myth about business plans is that they need to be really long to be really good, and that's just not true. I'm telling you, in my time as a lender, if I got a 50-page business plan, there's no way I'm reading that whole thing. So that means I probably missed some really important details that the business owner really wanted us to see, but they just get lost in all of those details. So you want your business plan, when you hand it over, to be refined down to maybe 5, 10, 15 pages so that you can really let the meat of it shine and that your lender doesn't have to go flipping through all those pages to try to find everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through here, highlight kind of each section and talk a little bit about it. But then when we get to those 5 key highlights that I mentioned, I'll stop for a little bit longer, dig into that, and try and even provide some examples for you there. So first off, we got the executive summary, kind of like a cover letter to a resume for a job interview or job application. Just kind of hit the highlights, right? Like where it's going to be located. Are there some key attractions nearby? What is your expected startup costs or your costs to get the property up and running? And are you going to need to finance that, or you have an investor involved, that kind of thing. So just the highlights here. And then coming down to market analysis, which is going to be key point number 1. Now, we want to demonstrate that there is opportunity in the market for your Airbnb unit. Now, depending upon where your unit's going to be located. Now, if that's like on the coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and you got a beachfront view, there's probably thousands of other Airbnbs, but because it's such a popular destination, there's probably still an opportunity for your unit to do really well. Now, I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and while we have a few attractions here in the city, it's not exactly like a tourist destination. Okay, so if I wanted to create an Airbnb unit here, I got to probably be located close to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway where the Indy 500 is, or next to the Colts Stadium, or something like that. And you need to demonstrate, if you're in a market like that, how many other Airbnb units are there in that proximity. Now, if it's in a heavy tourist destination, you're probably going to be able to be just fine. If it's not a heavy tourist destination, but that happens to be where you own a unit, then you got to do a little bit more homework about what's in the area, what's the price range, and make a good case for why you still think it's going to be a successful unit there. So some simple things you might be able to do. I pulled up Google AdWords. You can create a free account here. I'm using their keyword planner tool. I have it set for anyone in the United States. If they're searching for these phrases, how often are those being searched for? And so I can see Airbnb in Indianapolis is being searched a little over 6,000 times per month. In the last 3 months, that's grown 22%. Year over year, it's decreased about 20%. So that's kind of interesting. It's like, why is that year over year being searched for less? And we have Airbnb Indianapolis, Indiana. Okay, that's up 51%. Downtown Indianapolis is pretty consistent. Airbnb Indianapolis, that's gone up 20%. Cheap Airbnb in Indianapolis, up 50%. So you can see for the most part, the trends are going up. So that's a good sign, okay? Doesn't necessarily signal that Indianapolis is going to be the #1 tourist destination, in the States. But that does indicate that a growing number of people are searching for short-term rental units to stay at in this area. So that's a good indicator. Now, depending upon where your unit's going to be located, you might want to look at how many hotels are close by, because when it comes to short-term stay industry, miles make the difference. So if your unit is going to be 3 miles from an important attraction and the next closest one's going to be 10 miles away, that's a really big deal for you. Okay, so highlight that. Or is there a lot more closer to an attraction than you're the farthest one away? So that's an important thing to keep in mind. The goal is to provide as much information like this in your business plan to support the fact that you do think there's an opportunity for you to gain bookings when you're doing that. Okay. All right. So that's market analysis. Key point number 1. We just talked a little bit about the property and the location analysis. That's kind of one and the same. More just an elaboration. You're going to talk about what's close by. What does your property have? How many bedrooms is it going to have? Because, there's something to be said for a lot of people get Airbnbs because they have more people stay in one place. So the bigger it is, typically the more attractive it is. So you're going to go into those details a little bit more. Attractions close by. We already discussed that a little bit. And you got your business model and the revenue streams. Okay. So talk a little bit more like your nightly rate. Does that change if someone wants to stay there for a month of time? What occupancy are you estimating? Your fees, you're going to have cleaning fees, that kind of stuff. Make sure you talk about that in here. If you're going to have someone manage the property for you, I would probably talk about that in here as well. That's a section where it's probably not going to make or break your business plan success, but if you don't put enough information in there, then it's going to hurt you. So make sure you put ample attention there. Okay, marketing and sales strategy. That's going to be key point number 2. How are you going to acquire your customers? So we've already identified that there are customers to be gained. Now we have to demonstrate that you have a good plan to actually acquire those customers. And, you should include things like we're going to be on social media and you might have a website for a unit or something like that. So you want to have some information there. But an even stronger thing to make your business plan shine right here is, do you have any what's called traction? Now that's a very tech related term, but I think it can apply really in any industry. And so that might be an example of, did you build a social media profile for the location and you've done these really, nice and artistic videos and you've drummed up some interest in the location and the following, or maybe you're building out the Airbnb unit and you're bringing your social media followers along with that process and building some excitement that they want to come stay because it looks so great. And you can highlight things close by the property and people are like, wow, I never thought I would go to Indianapolis, but this looks amazing. Okay, so if I can build a following there, you might think, do my social media followers make a difference in my business plan? Yeah, they would in that kind of case, because that's a really good indication that people are aware of your unit and have expressed interest in being there. Include that data. You might be able to build a wait list or an interest list. So when the property is live, you'll send out emails to those people and first come, first serve when they get those units. That type of stuff, whatever you can put in numbers or in writing that you already have a little bit of momentum. You're not just going to open up, you're not just going to launch the unit, put it on an Airbnb and then sit back and relax. That might work, but if you're putting effort into giving it kind of a head start, that looks really good for a potential supporter. All right, now we're going to keep moving on. Financial projections, which is kind of what we do here at Projection Hub. So here, we're including things like startup funds. You got your projections, 5 years of key data like revenue and total expenses, your profitability. You got a breakdown here of how many properties you have, how many units you're going to have, a chart detailing the growth of the sales and the profitability, some key industry ratios. And then I've got a 5-year financial pro forma for income statement or profit and loss, and a balance sheet and a cash flow statement. Now, a lender is probably going to want at least 3 years, so just conservatively, I have 5. And all of those were generated using this financial projection template. If you're trying to get a loan or something like that or an investment for a new property, you're going to have projections, or at least demonstrate how that property is going to perform. Creating financial projections or having them created can be kind of expensive, even up to thousands of dollars. This template, you can pick it up for less than $100. I'll even give you a discount code at the end of the video to give it even cheaper. But just to show it to you really quick, you'll be able to put in here your investment related data, the things you need to purchase. You can even do loans down here. And then you'll be able to put in how many properties you have, up to 10 different unique properties. And you can also do a multiple of that, right? So if you have 5 that are the exact same, you can do that here. And you can put some details around how much you renovated it for. Do you have a mortgage on that? Or are you leasing the space? Then you'll be able to calculate the revenue from that. How many people are staying there? What are they paying per night? This template also allows for you to do seasonal data, right? If I'm using the Indianapolis example, I mentioned the Indy 500. That happens in May every year. You'll probably be completely booked out, for that, or it'd be really easy to book a unit for that. but maybe other times of the year, February, for example, nobody wants to be in Indiana in February. Probably don't have as many bookings during that time. So this template would allow you to do that and count for occupancy data. So it's nice because the template isn't just like, what's your estimated revenue? It's actually going to help you calculate it for you based upon all of your data. There's a video walkthrough of how to fill out the whole thing. Our team's also here to answer questions as you fill it out. You'll be able to include your operating expense data on a monthly detail level. Again, to account for seasonality. If your Airbnb empire is growing and you actually have a salaried employee that's involved with it, you can include them here, but you can also take them out if you're going to be doing that all on your own. And then it will generate all those charts that I showed you for you in the financial statements automatically. And any changes you make, they will be updated here. So I just wanted to show that to you. That's how I created those. So financial projections are not key point number 3 because they're just expected to be involved. But what is a key point is, are your financial projections realistic and within industry norms? Now, how would you know if they're realistic? Go to Google. I'm going to go here and I'm curious, how profitable are Airbnbs? Google tells me they can make, in peak locations, 8% profit. In more modest locations, the profit can be closer to 4%. Okay, well, let's go and look at our projections. And I see first year we have a loss. Maybe it was a partial year when we got started, but then I get 7%, 2%. So you can see that's realistic. I'm within that range. And something important to mention about Airbnbs is nobody expects them, especially if you only have one or a few properties, to be a huge cash cow in regards to profitability. What makes Airbnbs attractive is they are covering the costs of that property while you're likely appreciating that asset, right? The asset is getting more valuable as you pay down the debt that it has, or maybe just in general, the property is getting more value based upon what the market's doing, and your income might be covering that. So anything over that is gravy. And if it's not a lot of gravy, at least the value of the asset is increasing. But that's kind of an example of what you can do. Any of this data that's in here, go out there and look for what are averages for other people, what are averages for other markets to expect. I believe in this template, we reference a tool called AirDNA. Go to AirDNA. It'll give you reports exactly on like typical rental rates in your area or your desired area. I don't know if those reports are free. I think you have to pay for them, but that's another example of a tool you can use to get prepared for that. So those projections are going to bring us down pretty close to the end, except here we go, management and personnel. Key point number 4. Is anyone a part of your business have some relevant industry experience? Now, for something like an Airbnb, it's not crucial that you've managed a property before, but what is your experience, right? Have you done some renovations, home renovations before? If you're buying a property that you're going to have to fix up, have you ever flipped a house or that kind of thing? I'm not saying that's a requirement. It kind of depends on your situation. Are you asking for money to renovate a property? Are you asking for money to buy a property and then you're going to manage that? Depending upon what your plan is, if you're trying to get some funding, you need to make sure you demonstrate that you have the relevant experience and the skills to do whatever you're saying your plan is. So yeah, make sure you include anything that's relevant. That would be key point number 4. And then that brings us to the end, and we're missing one key point, and that's going to be what's called skin in the game. Now this relates more so if you're trying to get a loan or maybe even raising some investment, but mostly if you're getting a loan. And that's going to be, you might be buying a house. So this is probably a good example. It's just like if you're buying a house, you probably have to put in a down payment, and then you're using the home as collateral for that. Same concept applies. Whoever is giving you the loan isn't going to give you 100% of the proceeds. They're going to expect an investment from you, and then they're going to need collateral, against that loan, which in this case could very well be the property. So it's key point number 5, but it's kind of an obvious one for this industry. So that brings us to the end on how to create a business plan for an Airbnb or short-term rental unit. As I mentioned, I linked this template for free down in the description. But also, if you're interested in the projection template specifically for Airbnb, again, here's the video that will walk you through exactly how to fill it out. You can use PH20BP at checkout to get another 20% discount. And yeah, that is the 5 key things. If you have any questions, reach out at support@projectionhub.com. Happy to help and answer any questions you have. If this video was helpful, please give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe if you want to see some more Airbnb content for your business to be helpful. But we appreciate you sticking around, and best of luck.